Let me start with a question most people don't want to ask out loud. Why does the Philippines, my home country, why does it continue to struggle decade after decade? I promise you, it's not because of the lack of talent. It's not because of the lack of heart. It's not even, the lack of resources. Why does it continue to struggle decade after decade? It's the leadership. More specifically, leadership without accountability. So I want to break down what that means, why it matters, and what we Filipinos, immigrants, leaders, parents, what can we do about it? I was born in the Philippines. My family and I immigrated to the United States when I was about 7 years old. My family came here because of, like most Filipino families coming to the States, we wanted better opportunities. We wanted to provide more for our families back home because we didn't have that. That didn't exist in the Philippines. And it wasn't because the Philippines lacked potential. It was because leadership in the Philippines, it lacks accountability, it lacks vision, and lastly, but most importantly, it lacks integrity. So fast forward to now, I've just served over 21 years in the military. I've trained leaders, I've coached executives, I've helped high-performing leaders realign their life and leadership so that they can create that meaningful impact, not just at work, but at home as well, most importantly. So, when I see what's happening in the Philippines, I don't just see the headlines, right? I see leadership. Leadership is the problem. I've seen corporations, teams, families, and countries all around the world. Recently, there was an article on The Guardian published about the protest that's going on in the Philippines due to all the floods, right? Rightfully so, the the citizens are outraged, because funds that were meant to prevent these catastrophic flooding were allegedly misused or siphoned off by corrupt officials, corrupt politicians. And here's the painful part of it, this isn't new. This isn't surprising. This isn't rare in the Philippines. Corruption in the Philippines, it's become normalized that people shrug their shoulders like it's just another day. It's just another Tuesday, right? But it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't just be another day. And that shouldn't be normalized. It's why people suffer. It's why these families back home, back in the motherland, they lose everything after every typhoon, after every devastating catastrophic event. It's why generation after generation we continue to struggle. It's why so many Filipinos, like my family, we leave for another country in order for us to provide a better life for our families back home, in order for us to be successful outside of the motherland, outside of the Philippines. Corruption it's not an accident. It's a failure of leadership. Again, it's lack of accountability and lack of integrity. Here's what I want to teach and tell leaders. Your leadership is not about position. It's not about that. It's not about title. It's about being a steward. It's about stewardship. A leader's job is to protect the people, their people, to serve them, to make decisions based on long-term good and not short-term personal gains. But when leaders aren't held accountable, when people in power face no consequences, when the system protects corruption instead of integrity, you don't just get bad government. That's where you get a broken culture. And when you have a broken culture, people stop believing. People stop fighting. People might start accepting dysfunction as, it's just it's normal. It becomes normalized, right? And that's just not a Philippine issue. That's a global leadership issue. And that's wrong. That's bad. See, when a leader fails to take responsibility, that's when everyone under them, they all pay the price. But here's the part most people miss. Real change doesn't start with the government. Real change starts with the leaders. Leading at home, leading in your business, in your communities. That's where real change starts. If you're a Filipino, if you're an immigrant, if you're a leader watching this, you have a role to play. You have a role in rewriting this whole narrative. And we need leaders who are accountable. We need leaders who lead with integrity. We need leaders who can build trust. We need leaders to serve their people, to ensure that they align their decisions with their purpose, and create a culture that doesn't make corruption a normal day thing, right? Because the Philippines, and honestly this world, it doesn't need more inspiration. It needs more intentional leadership. So here's my call for you all. If you're watching this, no matter where you live, no matter what your job is, no matter your influence, how small you may think, lead with accountability, lead with integrity, lead with purpose, right? And as someone who was born, raised in the Philippines, grew up in the States, I trained and served in the military. I know what happens when leadership is aligned, and honestly, I know what happens when it's not. So if you want to be part of the solution, if you want to build a culture at work, at home, or in your community, you want to build a culture that fights corruption, fights complacency and misalignment, then let's stay connected. Because I'm on a mission to help leaders be more ruthlessly intentional, to create that meaningful impact, not just in your career, not just in your profession, but where it matters most, at home. And if that's you, hit subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. And together, let's build leaders the world actually needs. Till then, stay real, be intentional.